Hey guys, welcome back to the layout. So today I've got another how-to video for you. I actually got a request from Sparky107107, but I've also been asked in the past how I've done this. So I'm going to give you kind of a short how-to, kind of a short and sweet. This is how I lay hand-thrown turnouts. I've already made a how-to video on how I do the tortoise switch machines, so that won't be covered. I have an old turnout here. You can see I bought it used a long time ago. It was painted brown. I never ended up using it, so I never stripped the paint off it. But it's just a basic Atlas snap switch. It's nothing special. This pretty well applies to everything. But basically, I've laid out what you need. You need something to lay your track on, which I'm going to use this as an example because I don't need to lay a turnout on my layout anywhere. So I'm going to use the foam. You need the turnout itself. I use Caboose Industries ground throws. I can't remember what model number it is right off the top of my head, but I will add that in the description with a link. Now, you don't have to buy it off their website. You can buy it off pretty well any hobby shop, but I will link their website with the product just so you guys can see kind of the original area. You're gonna need something to basically keep everything down, which are track nails, or foam nails in this case, by Woodland Scenics. But you know, you can use any kind of pin. Some white glue. Again, I use Woodland Scenics because I have it, but it's white glue, rebranded and much more expensive. Something to cut the plastic ties with. I just use an old rail snipper that's kind of out of commission. You need some wire. This is the inside of Cat 5e cable. So Ethernet cable, just Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6. This is Cat 5e in this case. And when you strip the blue coating off that, you get 8 wires in 4 different sets. Brown, brown, white, orange, white, blue, white, and green, white. And I find this wire is super small and really great for wiring tortoise switch machines, as I've shown you guys, and for making little jumpers. So I use that. And then of course, just over here I've got my soldering iron and some solder. Again, as I've mentioned in my other videos, I use solder with flux in it because I just like the way it works. So first off, we're going to be preparing the turnout. Wow, can't speak tonight. Sorry about that. Basically, I flip it over, and I want to cut a gap without causing too much problems. Now, I'm going to cut out a larger area at this point. For the example, I'm not worried about the rail shifting or anything like that. I do glue down all of my stuff anyways. But you may just want to only take out one, I guess, strip, one little row of these. I'm not being very gentle because I don't care. And, you know, for people who are seriously upset about, you know, that tie missing, then you go ahead and either keep the tie or, you know, slide a spare tie in there after we're done. So that cosmetically looks good. So right now, that's it. So all the rails are still in place. Sometimes it pushes the ties down a little bit or up, but in this case it looks like it's okay. And it's not going, it's still super solid. So we have a nice gap to solder there. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to make 2 little jumpers, and we're going to go from the stock rail to the point rail, and from the stock rail to the point rail. So basically feeding power to both these rails at the same time, like connecting them. Sorry, I keep looking the wrong way here. Now I do this, and typically you don't have to, because the way Atlas works is if you flip it over, in this case you can't see, but as you come down, if power's on this rail right here, it actually goes through the frog and still connects to power right here. And then obviously this stock rail is one straight piece of rail. And then this kind of point rail continues through the frog as well. My problem is, in a lot of cases, I have insulating rail joiners or gaps. In some cases, you know, going off to a spur, I want my circuit breaker, my PM42, to be separated. So I've got a break right here. And, you know, what that means is you're relying solely on these point rails to provide power. And I like Atlas, I really do, but man, their point rails suck. So, and it all depends on how good your switch machine is as well. These Caboose Industries are actually pretty good, but I still like to do this. So, in a regular circumstance, you may be able to skip this step, but I definitely recommend doing it just because. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to cut a piece of wire slightly shorter than I need it because I don't want them to touch. I'm just gonna strip it. I've got this nice little tool. There we go. So all I've done is I've taken the coating off the wire to leave the copper wire. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. And I'm just going to cut it in half so I get two little copper wires, just like this. Okay, and if I zoom in, and you know, actually that might have to be my workspace because I got to keep my camera plugged in. We're just going to kind of put some of our tools aside. I'll explain the Caboose Industries ground throw when I'm at that step. And what you want to do is take your little jumper and just lay it right there. Now I usually use some pliers, but I'm a little careless today, okay? So you'll have to forgive me. So I'm just gonna lay them just like this. Okay, so you can see it's just jumping from one rail, the stock rail, to the point rail of the same side. You're not gonna get a short because these are both the inside rail or the outside rail, depending on how this is oriented, okay? And vice versa. So you're not gonna get a short. So, I'm going to go ahead and solder this, and I may cut this out. I gotta move a couple things just because it's really, I find it really difficult to solder and do work like this without getting my hands all over the shot. So I may just skip this part. Now, if I don't cut this part out, the reason why I cut out two sections is because when you cut out one, it's pretty difficult to get your soldering iron in here without burning some ties. And then you kind of get plastic all over your soldering iron, and it doesn't look as good because now the plastic ties are all curled up, and I'm not having a good time. I gotta let this heat up properly. Okay, guys, so I'm back. Got the two jumpers soldered in. Little tip for you, because I often come across this using flux in my solder instead of an external flux. If you're having trouble with the solder sticking to things, or the rail in this case, because this is an older turnout, what you can do is I took like the tip of the pliers here and I scratched the back side of the rail to expose that nice shiny clean rail, and then the solder sticks nice to it. So I didn't really take my time because, like I said, this is just a tutorial. But what you can do is you can really nicely solder that, clip the ends. Now this will be eventually covered in ballast, so it really doesn't matter. But you know, you can make them straight, you can make them crisscross, whatever you guys want. Okay, so please don't judge because I really don't care about my solder job in this case. So now that that is done, that means that when, I'm just going to zoom out a bit because we're still pretty far in. That means when, even if this is set to straight, okay, you can see that the left point rail is not up against the stock rail, which means this left rail has no power whatsoever. But with the jumper, it actually does. So if you've got, say, an industry hooked up here with no, you know, leads to your track, no feeders or you know, no power to the industry, even when it's set like this, you still have power. You know, otherwise, every time you would disconnect, you would lose power to the industry. So I like having this even everywhere, like in my yard and everything. I just, like I said, I really don't trust the point rails. So, and this is an older Mark, I think it's a Mark III, possibly. So it's got the older hinge, and they're not as great. But like I said, this works. I do this for pretty much any of my turnouts, regardless of the brand. Just because it's a good habit to get into, and I like to reuse my turnouts. So with this way, I can reuse them, and they're ready to go no matter where. So pretty much try to do this on every turnout. Anyways, moving on. So that's done. So that can be mounted. Awesome. Let's take a quick peek at the Caboose Industries. So take it out of the package, and pretty well you've got, so all of these correlate to a brand. This one with the circle cutout is Pico, I believe, and that's really the only one I know. Other than this is Atlas, the little hook, and what that does is you just kind of put it in. There's a little gap in there, and you've got a small little bead, and that just sits in there really nice. So that's it. Okay, so now you can see back and forth. So with that being done, it does come with a little elevator if you want to use that. If you need a little bit of extra height, it adds just a little bit of extra height, and that goes there. Now, there are holes for little track nails, it looks like. I use glue, personally, again, because I have it. I don't have track nails, so I don't bother using them because I don't have them. But I have glue, so let's just kind of worry about that stuff later. So we have our turnout, and we want our turnout, we're just going to put it, say, right here. Okay? We're happy with that for the most part. That's definitely where it's going to go. We're going to take a couple of these foam nails, and we're going to put one here. And it's not going to go all the way through because it's only 1-inch foam, so I apologize for that because I'm stabbing my poor table. But okay, so that's not going anywhere. All right, I've put pins in it here and here. That's where I want it. So here comes our little switch machine, our little ground throw. And what I tend to do is, if you have the space and you prefer it closer or further, let me kind of start over there. This throw bar can go to either side. What you can do, if you flip it over, you can see that there's little pins, little nipples, and I just take a pin and bend that back, and what that does is that releases it. So you can see it goes there, and then you can just kind of unclip it, and once you do that with both rails, you take it out and you can switch sides. I always practice of putting it on the inside. That way I'm not reaching over any, I'm reaching over less things typically. I'm not reaching over the train that's waiting here or anything like that. It's always on the inside. That's just the way I do it. It makes kind of logical sense. But hey, everybody has their personal preference. So if you want to put it on kind of the outside, where you do have to reach over stuff because maybe you want to model something on the side, then that's cool. Absolutely up to you. Doesn't make a difference with the performance. So I hope you like my flannel pajamas, by the way. I sure do. They're comfy. Okay. Another thing is with Atlas, they have 2 holes here, so you can actually, if this is too far out, you can clip it and have this on the inside hole. I've done that for most of my industries and some of my yard. For the most part, though, I have the room to be able to put it on the outside. So I switch the switch machine so it's all the way to the right, okay? Basically all the way extended. And I'm gonna come and push this all the way extended. Okay, and then I'm just going to, and if I zoom in some more, move the camera, I basically just, let me get my big hand out of the way. Oh, I clip it in and pull down and it clips. And if I bring this up, you can see the little plastic nib got in. So this isn't glued down or anything yet. So now it's attached, okay? It's not going anywhere. Good to go. So now that it's fully attached, I take more foam nails and I break the heads off them. Now, I've done this quite a lot, and I'm just gonna unzoom a little bit. I've done this quite a lot because with this, you can actually, if you've got 2-inch foam, like I do, you can actually put this to hold down track and run trains over it because it's low enough that it won't catch the trucks, whereas these will usually hit the trucks of at least most locomotives that I have. And you know, that causes derailments and friction, and that's just bad news bears. But I kind of break these off for everything. But what they're really useful for, and it's not going to show here because, well, if I bring the foam off the table, it will. But gonna zoom in, gonna move the camera because now I'm off the table, so I can. Oh, gotta move the camera some more. I'm sorry, guys. So. Straighten this out, the throw bar, as much as possible, okay? And you kind of want to get a nice medium, so it's pressing up pretty nice against that. It's fully extended. So I'm just going to firmly press on that and put one of the pins through the sides. Okay, and I'm going to put it all the way down, just like that, okay? So it's going, you know, it's going into the foam, and I can still fully retract this. And as I do that, I'm looking at my turnout, and I'm making sure that the point rails are going back and forth and really making a good contact with the stock rails. Okay, the stock rails are the outside rails, the point rails are the inside rails that move. Okay, and that looks pretty good, okay? So I'm gonna take another pin, the exact same, with the little head broken off, and I'm gonna put it on the other side. And that's going to go down. So, actually I can bring that down. So now I have both, and it works great. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to lift that up, and I'm going to take my foam, or my glue, my foam glue, okay, because I'm happy with this result. And I can remember that even if I'm not, I just spray some water, and this loosens up the glue, and I move it until I'm happy. And I just kind of put some glue right under there. You don't need a lot. Just like that. Okay? And then you just push it down. And it's going to squirt out the sides, and that's okay, because to get enough glue to hold it, that's going to happen. But that's okay. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. And then the second step, if I zoom back out and kind of move the camera back up, guys, sorry about this. What I typically do is I put a little bit of glue down here, just in between the ties in both sections. And I put a little bit of glue up here in between the ties. And sometimes I even let it go on top of the ties because I don't care, it'll be covered by ballast. But just like that, the pins are in place to hold it. The ground throw works wonderfully still, okay? Everything's glued. We're good to go. All right? We let that dry, and I'm not going to come back to it, but that's it. We're done, right? I mean, obviously you'd have, you know, rails come in and track there, but the one thing I do want to talk about is when the glue dries, you may have to do some cutting and scraping. Okay, so here's one that I've recently had to re-glue because it actually ripped up the foam a little bit, and once I re-glued everything, it was fine. But what I was finding is, and you can see a little bit actually there, some glue got up and is causing this to kind of stick. And to fix that is really, really easy. I just take a pin. You can take a small screwdriver. This is just the track pin. And I just work my way under the throw bar. And, you know, you'll be able to kind of get under it, find the glue, and kind of just you don't have to really massively pull the glue, but basically what I'm just trying to do is move the glue enough that it gets unstuck from the throw bar, and you can see now that's much better. So it's not sticking whatsoever. Still some glue there, but it's not really affecting anything, and we're good to go. Ooh, let that back focus. There. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's how I've wired all, or not wired, but laid all my turnouts. And if I need to change anything, you just squirt some water. You know, oh, I need to make it, you know, change the turnout, squirt some water where I put the glue. It comes up in less than 5 minutes, undamaged, and off you go. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Sorry, it is a little longer than I thought it would be. I'm obviously going to cut some parts out because I don't know how long that added. But basically, that's how I do it. I hope that was informative. I know it's a simple thing, but I do get enough requests, so I hope that really helps some people out. You know, any comments, questions, criticisms, please don't forget to put those down in the comments below. You know, I appreciate everybody's comments or questions or criticisms. If there's something I can do better, I absolutely want to do that. If you learned something or just enjoyed this video, don't forget a thumbs up. And if you're not and you want to be, you want to see more videos of me talking, layout updates, layout, you know, op sessions, tutorials, and how-tos, don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, guys, enjoy your bacon.